The thing we need to know about rewiring the nervous system is that it's really not very effective when we're at a point of extreme stress or being triggered, as we commonly call it. So, at the time that we get triggered, the brain releases a whole cocktail of chemicals and hormones and endorphins and all sorts of other stuff that are changing the state of the brain. They're actually changing the efficacy of different areas of the brain and the totality of the body's organs to optimize for survival. It is not caring about data, truthfulness, processing, mindfulness, whatever, right? All the things that we associate with being calm and collected in a time of stress, the brain is literally not optimizing for that. It's shutting those portions of the brain down, and it is increasing the efficacy of other parts of the brain that focus on survival so that we can react quickly and our pupils dilate and it pulls blood in from our extremities and all that kind of stuff. You'll frequently see this at times when you get really, really extremely triggered. You'll be super hot or super cold, or the nature of the light will change, or your brain gets foggy, or many others kind of physiological signs that we're having a total system reaction to whatever this thing is that's happening in front of me. And that's really key to understanding this stuff, is that like I'm thinking of it because society trains me this way. I'm thinking of it as like, oh, I just got in a fight with my girlfriend. But that's not actually the total story. The real story is we had this exchange in whatever way that it was, and my entire nervous system is reacting to what's in front of me as if it's a massive threat, and that my very existence or safety is being threatened in this moment. And so then it mobilizes the whole system to act against it. And so when that happens, it really amps up certain parts of the brain, which we will call the lizard brain, primal brain, subconscious, unconscious, whatever. And then it shuts down, decreases blood flow, inhibits neurological pathway, whatever. It decreases the efficacy of the parts of our brain that have to do with like forward thinking and calmness and rational thought and whatever, right? This is what's going on at times when we're triggered. So once we understand that this is the dynamic that's going on, it kind of helps inform us that the best thing to do is to find times when my nervous system is in a state of calm and then to intentionally stress it. Okay, what does this look like? It means, let's say that I've got some kind of conflict with my parent, that like I live my life a certain way or I dress a certain way. And when my parent sees that, they come at me with all this like hostile, critical, shaming language and behavior. And then I get defensive and I tense up, and then my whole system begins to react, and I see that my hands are shaking and my breath is short, and my heart's pumping, and I'll label that anger, or I'll label that resentment, or I'll label that confusion. But if we can take away the labels for a second, we can see that like I'm having a whole system physiological reaction to this words. Hopefully it's just words coming from another human being. Those words float through the air, they hit my ears, they go into my brain, it's associated with ideas and thoughts, and then suddenly my system is having a total reaction. Okay. And then I run away, I act out in various ways, I protest, I cry, I throw things, whatever, right? Whatever your behavior is, that is the behavior that's motivated by this fundamental survival response inside your nervous system. That was a game changer for me. Understanding this like literally turned this entire healing journey upside down. I was like, oh my God, now I suddenly understand what's going on. It's so simple as my nervous system sees that as threatening. And now how it is threatening, that's a topic for another video. But if that's the situation, then it makes sense. And like, if that's the situation and I know that in the face of it, my whole brain gets compromised, shut down maybe, and I can't function very well, at least the way that I like to function in the days when I'm having a good day, right? Then if that's what's going on, then what I can do is I can leave that situation, get distance between me and whatever that stressor is. And then I can find a moment where I'm feeling calm, I'm feeling safe. Safe is really key. And I can sit there and tune out the rest of the world, and I can close my eyes and I can kind of imagine stepping into that room with my critical parent. And they say a couple of small jabs. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And then I'm like, in my imagination, I have them get a little bit more aggressive. I turn up the volume, so to say. And I turn up the volume on the intensity. And then it gets to this point where I begin to feel my physiological reaction to that sensation, that experience. I begin to feel my heart increase. I begin to feel my fingers tingle or my ears get hot or whatever, right? You listen to these sensations that are arising and you say, oh, this is my survival response firing. Okay. And I spend a few moments with that experience. I spend a few moments in that place where I am stressed out. And then I release that visualization and I come back to me right now, right here, in a place where I feel safe. And I'm just like, wow, that was interesting. That's one rep. So we go and we do it again. We go into the place, we imagine it, we get close, we get a little bit closer, we turn up the volume a little bit more until my body is really starting to feel it, like maybe the fingers are shaking, maybe the adrenaline's going, whatever. And then I leave the visualization and come back to my felt safety. That's 2 reps. So if you think about this like going to the gym or training in general, like say you got all these people that want to swim across the English Channel and they don't just go jump in the water and say, oh yeah, it's super cold, it's a super huge distance, I'm a pretty good swimmer, like I'm a man or I'm a enlightened woman or whatever. Like you don't just jump into the water with the confidence of your identity and say, oh yeah, I can handle this. Well, some people do, and they have a really hard time and sometimes die. So what do those people do? They see that their body is going to be extremely stressed in the future. This is using the upper part of the brain, the conscious mind with its predictive planning and all of its amazing abilities. It sees this point in the future where it's going to be super stressed out. And it says, in order for me to be ready for that degree of stress, I need to, what? Stress my body beforehand. I need to stress my body in a continuous way, sequentially, repetitively. I need to go into the point where I swim as far as I can, and then I rest, and I let my body recover. And then I go as far as I can, and I push myself a little bit further, and then I rest. Riding the Tour de France, swimming the English Channel, jumping out of an airplane, lifting, deadlifting, you're beyond your PR. Any of these things you can imagine. So physically, like the idea of physical training to increase the capacity of our physical strength or endurance system is well within everyone's mindset. But when it comes to emotional training, I'll tell you, I rarely, if ever, meet anyone who's doing anything for their emotional training. I help people all the time. I teach classes all the time. I literally live in one of the most populous healing centers on earth. And it doesn't come up in conversation. What I see is people that they feel something uncomfortable. They got in a fight, their boyfriend left, they went home for Christmas and their parents were super triggering or whatever. And then what do? They say, that felt horrible. I want to get away from it. Okay, well, let's say we've got a whole fleet of children that are coming through primary, middle, high school, and you say, well, here's the way that you train to run further or jump higher or compete more effectively or whatever. They say, you have to do this training to get there. And all of them just say, no, that feels uncomfortable. Give me another way. Like, sing music to me or make me vibrate the right frequency, or I'm going to go scream under a waterfall or eat the right foods or whatever, right? Eating the right foods is important, but not for what I'm talking about right now. But like, look at the way that people handle emotional stresses. They run, or they distract, or they blame. That's a big one. They try to blame and shame that other person, that other thing, whatever it is. And in order to put negative labels on them so that we can say they're a horrible person, they did this horrible thing. And because I don't want to feel uncomfortable anymore, I don't want to feel bad about my choices in clothing or food or partners or lifestyle or whatever. I don't want to feel bad about that, which is emotional discomfort. So instead, I'm going to try to tear down that other person. They've said something to me that registers in my mind. I'm like, yeah, maybe I am being a bad person. And then that feels horrible. And now I feel shame about myself and whatever else. And it's just like, I don't want to experience that. So I'm just going to tear them down and turn them into a monster. An evil, covert narcissist, whatever. It's like, okay, maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. Maybe your parent is abusive. Maybe your girlfriend is a jerk. Maybe your boyfriend is, a self-absorbed ass. Like, all of these can be true, but it's really immaterial. What's important is your emotional resilience. What's important is your ability to stand in the face of stressful experiences and maintain your values, really. Can you behave the way you want to behave? Can you make the choices you want to make? Can you let go of things that are not conducive to your future goals? Can you detach? Can you be mindful in the face of someone screaming at you and blaming you for all their life's problems? And can I recognize that in this moment, I'm talking to another human being who's got their own wounds, their own everything, and this is their way of acting out. And none of that has to touch me. So what I'm talking about here is emotional training. Very intentional, pointed, uncomfortable emotional training. And we have to do this on purpose, by choice, in order to build the capacity in our nervous system to face stress, to increase emotional resilience. And when we do that, we're building the foundational blocks for the future life where we actually have the kind of experiences that we really want. We're building the blocks now for our future happiness. Because if I run around every day with a shame wound inside me or an incredibly strong aversion to discomfort, I'm not free. That means any person can walk into my life and throw a couple of criticisms at me. Anyone can walk into my life and throw criticisms at me, a couple of jabs, poke me where they know I'm weak. Parents are really good at that. or any number of other things, and basically just push me around like some kind of sock puppet in the wind. Like, I don't get to make choices for my life if I'm constantly reacting to threat. I don't get to build the life that I want to build if I'm so terrified of feeling ashamed that I'll literally do anything to avoid it. This thing that I'm talking about here, this intentional building of emotional resilience, is, as far as I can tell, it's literally the answer to everything. Like every emotional problem you have, every relationship issue, parenting, government, employment, whatever, like every experience in life where you need to interact with another human being that is separate, autonomous, and unpredictable demands emotional resilience. It calls upon us to be our best selves so that we can build the best possible connection with this other human being. Yeah. It's powerful stuff. And I hope everyone listening to this is able to let that sink in a bit. And tune in more later, and I'll go through some more specific exercises on how we do this emotional training and build emotional resilience in different domains of life. And if you have some domain you'd really like to hear about, leave it in the comments. Message me directly, whatever. I'm super open to this stuff, and I love hearing from you guys. Peace.